We'll get started. First question, Kelly Eco.
Hey, Coach, earlier you talked about, the importance of the random offense as opposed to, as the structured offense. How much does isolation basketball fit into that random offense, and how much are you looking for, given that John Wall and James are so good at that, but they're also good at structured stuff?
Yeah, it's a fine line, kind of like you're talking about. They're both good at it. And one of the things coming into the situation, I didn't want to take away what's good. I wanted to add. And so that was what we went over today. We went over, ways that we can get to a little bit more random offense, ways that it won't be so hard for those guys to score, where they're having to do it all on their own. So I call them system baskets, where we're getting baskets or points off actions, and mixing that in and mixing them together is work in progress. We haven't been together for very long. Those guys haven't played together for very long, and I'm learning them, they're learning me, and it's a process.
Mark Berman.
Stephen, do you have an update on Danuel House?
Yeah, House will not be coming on the trip. His back is still bothering him, as well as Ben and KJ won't be coming on the trip either. They're just getting back into basketball shape.
Does Danuel suffer some kind of an injury?
Danuel House?
Yeah, right.
I don't believe so. I think it was just one of those things. He woke up and his back was tight or messed up. He's struggling. He's not moving very well right now.
Adam Spolin.
Stephen, just the struggles that you guys had offensively last night and kind of the going back into a lot of ISO ball, was that just James and John kind of falling back into what they're comfortable with when things weren't going the way that they had the first 4 games?
A little bit. I think you see that what we're trying to do takes a little bit of time. But we were getting quality shots. I mean, we had shots that we could have made, should have made, and didn't make. And same thing on the defensive end. We forced them into some shots that they, typically wouldn't make, and they made a bunch of them. So sometimes, as they say, make or miss or whatever. But we were getting quality shots that we didn't make. But as far as the isolations go, just making sure that they are either early in a possession when we have a mismatch, or later after there is some sort of action to distort the defense, instead of guys just standing and kind of watching. That's the goal.
Saman Ali.
Hey, Stephen, how tough is it to adopt a new offense when players are so hardwired into playing a certain way?
It's probably pretty tough, but I wouldn't even say it's that new or different. I mean, they were running a few actions prior to me getting here and playing 5 out and that sort of thing. It's different because we have John Wall and we have Christian Wood, who add a dynamic that that hasn't been here before. So it's not an easy thing for sure, but I think that the talent is good enough to kind of make it work, for lack of a better term. We obviously don't want to be playing isolation all game, but one of the great things, especially that James does, is isolate and score and get to the get to the basket. So it's a work in progress for sure.
Jonathan Fagan.
Stephen, you spoke about wanting to run more, and players always talk about wanting to run more. Why do you feel like that hasn't happened?
We haven't been rebounding well. That's first and foremost. I talked to the group today about getting all 5 back and rebounding the basketball. And if our guards rebound it, then they can push and that gives us better opportunities. But we haven't really, besides the game before last, the second Sacramento game, we had 10 steals and 10 blocks in that game. That fuels your offense. That fuels your transition game. So we have to do things to be disruptive on the defensive end, whether it's be a little bit more aggressive or rebound the ball so we can get out and run. But yeah, like you said, everybody wants to play faster. Everybody wants to play with more pace and that sort of thing. We're not alone in that, but we have to do certain things in order for that to happen.
Thank you.
Ali Khan Bashani.
Hey, Stephen, you just mentioned it a few moments ago when it comes to John and James playing off each other, but what can they do off the ball while the other person has the ball to make sure the defense is treating them as a decoy, making sure that they're still, guarding them to give more space to the other person?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's a decoy. There's off-ball movement that we can do. There's off-ball screening that we have. There's little triggers that we have within our offense that'll get those guys moving. But there's also the actions that we have where one has the ball and the other one will work to receive the ball and having them work in tandem. So again, it's a process and patience has to be involved. And I guess I am a patient person, but in this situation, it's hard to be super patient because, the games are here and we're trying to win games and we're trying to teach on the fly and use walkthroughs and use film to build habits, and habits aren't necessarily built that way. So we're kind of doing it during the games, and we just got to be patient. And the person that I have to tell to be patient mostly is myself.
Thank you.
Mark Berman.
Stephen, is it TBD on how you'll handle your starting lineup with Danuel out, or will you go with the same lineup tomorrow that you did last night?
Yeah, it's TBD. I got to.
I'm sorry?
It's TBD. I'm not sure. I got to really lock in on Indiana before I make that decision.
I know that you said yesterday that you wanted to have a chance to talk to Rick. He said last night that he wanted to have the opportunity to thank you for all that you did with him. Did y'all have an opportunity to have any kind of a conversation before or after?
Yeah, I talked to him before the game, and it was great to see him. And he's just an amazing person, amazing coach. And I don't really know why he would have to thank me, because I just kind of did my job. But I thank him so much for everything he did for me.
And last question, Jonathan Fagan.
Stephen, what did you feel David Nwaba could bring to the starting lineup, and how do you feel that went?
I thought he'd bring his defensive intensity. I thought he'd bring strength and quickness against Luka. We wanted to make Luka more of a scorer, less of a passer. Luka's greatness is in his passing. So in the first half, he had 20 points, 3 of which were threes, and he'd been shooting 19% from 3 up until that point. So David was fighting through and really making it hard on Luka. Second half, he drew 2 charges on Luka. So that was the thought, and that's why he's out there, is the defensive end, and then his ability to drive a closeout. I mean, he drives it as hard as anybody to the rim, and he made a 3 last night, which is great for us. But Luka's special. He's really special. And then the second half, after having 20 points and 2 assists in the first half, he came up with 9 assists in the second half. And you see how the game changes when he's able to make all those passes. It's really hard to guard him.
So Indiana, being a much more balanced style of offense and really great ball movement, is it a very different test defensively?
Yeah, it's different. It's different. Less focus on one and more focus on the group and the actions and that sort of thing. More of like a shell defense mentality as opposed to a closeout one-on-one mentality. Last night is very much the one-on-one matchup with Luka, and then closing out to Tim Hardaway Jr., which we didn't do a very good job of, and that was one of the things that I had spoken about before the game, that we really needed to make him put the ball down on the floor. And he made that one right in front of our bench, falling out of the gym, and got himself going. But yeah, for Indiana, their ball movement, they share it, they move bodies and do a good job of moving you around as a group, and to a lot more equal opportunity for that group. So it'll be a different challenge for us, but a challenge nonetheless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time.